So what is a belief, and why do beliefs matter? Belief is nothing more than a thought that we keep thinking, whether or not we are aware of it. Why do we keep thinking the same thought at the exclusion of all other thoughts? Because we find evidence of its validity over and over again. When your thought or belief is validated, you will not question it, not doubt it, and it may remain fixed and stable for as long as its validity is maintained. You might ask, if we find evidence of its validity over and over again, doesn't it mean that it's true? Now here we enter the realm of the what was first, chicken or egg argument. Do my beliefs create my reality? Or are my beliefs the consequence of the observed reality? To understand that, let's look at the beliefs and how they're formed more closely. As babies, we come into this world without experience and without a defined worldview. With time, we start making conclusions as a result of gained experience and the observations that we make of others, the most influential being our immediate family or caretakers. Some of you believing in reincarnation or past lives will argue that even as babies, we come with already preset beliefs or imprints that are ready to be activated when certain triggers are present. But let's not entertain that argument here for now. So as babies, we're very sensitive to our environment and are eager to learn everything that we can from it. We pick up every cue from our parents, every reaction, tone of voice, volume, and emotional undertone, trying to mold ourselves into their view of the reality, because our survival depends on it. People under hypnosis report that even as babies, still in the womb, they can feel and react to their parents' emotions and sounds outside of the womb. They can feel when the mother is happy or upset. They can hear when the parents are arguing. They can hear music playing. They can even distinguish between people's voices, and even at that stage of life start making conclusions and forming beliefs. Babies will try to adopt their parents' beliefs because their survival depends on learning the ways of life. And who else can teach a child better than their parents, right? So beliefs adopted from our parents and other authority figures may go unquestioned for the rest of our lives. And even if you might say in despair, I will never be like my father, or I will never make mistakes my mother made, we find ourselves repeating their pattern and making their mistakes over and over again. Because very often, it's the subconscious that drives the behavior, not the rational, conscious mind. Science tells us that most of the time we operate from the subconscious, making irrational decisions, reacting to triggers, and acting out of habitual patterns. Our subconscious beliefs and habitual patterns may remain unconscious, meaning that we're not aware of them. Have you ever reacted to something seemingly benign in a completely out of character manner? Maybe you exploded at a question that you were asked, or slammed the door on your partner who just didn't say good morning, or smashed an electronic device that was being too slow. After that incident, you might feel embarrassed or ashamed for overreacting in this way. You might say, I was triggered. But what triggered you and why? To answer this question, I invite you to explore how beliefs are formed and what the prerequisites for forming a belief are. For this illustration, I would like to focus on a belief that we would consider negative. Something that's not life-affirming or beneficial. There are several components needed to form a belief. Number one, direct experience of a particular event or indirect observation of an event. For example, as a child, you visit your friend's house where you play with your friend's toys. When it's time to leave, you have a really hard time parting with the toys begging your mom to take them with you. But your mom says you must give them back. And you do, and then you leave. When you ask your mom after to buy you the toys you loved so much, your mom says, we can't afford them. Number 2, emotional response to what is experienced during and after the event, and your parents' caretaker's response to your emotions. Say you feel very sad and start crying. At that moment, you are heartbroken and you feel inconsolable. Your parents respond to you being devastated and heartbroken with impatience and irritability. They say you shouldn't want other people's things and you should be happy with what you've got. The more you cry, the more irritated they get, giving you a timeout in the end that they know that you hate. Number 3, a certain conclusion is being made. You feel confused and you start concluding that nice things are not for you, that you shouldn't want them, and maybe you don't even deserve them because you made your parents angry and upset. Number 4, repeated experiences of similar events that make you think and feel the same way. Experiences like asking for things from your parents and getting a no, or comparing yourself and what you have with other people. Maybe being teased at school for having old clothes or old toys. All of those incidents add more and more evidence to the already made conclusion. What used to be just a single thought becomes solidified and soon turns into a belief. I don't deserve to have what I want. What I want is not available to me. Wanting things is bad. I am bad for wanting things, for wanting nice things. And now you're an adult. Those childhood experiences are long forgotten, but for some reason, you never seem to have what you want. Every time there's an opportunity to have what you desire, somehow you seem to sabotage it, and it slips right out of your fingers. You think maybe you just have bad luck, or you're not disciplined enough, or maybe you lack skills, or that people don't appreciate you enough. But in reality, the subconscious is running the show, like an invisible puppeteer pulling invisible strings, making you behave in ways you don't want to behave. As we see from this example, the subconscious belief from the past is not apparent, it is not visible to the conscious mind, but it has visible effects in the present. You might procrastinate and do anything else other than focus on what you need to accomplish to move yourself towards your goals. Or you might seem to always be late for important meetings and lose the deals, or get cold feet at the last minute. Because they're not apparent and easily identifiable, subconscious beliefs are not very easy to change. To make matters worse, what is called a confirmation bias comes into play, where we tend to interpret new information as a confirmation of our existing beliefs. We will tend to focus on, and as a result see more of, what we believe in. If we take a previous example of a child forming a belief, I can't have nice things. As an adult, this person may have an experience of gaining something good only for it to be taken away shortly after, resulting in great suffering, hence reinforcing the original belief, I can't have nice things. If you are curious about why a particular conclusion is made in the first place, or why a child made that conclusion instead of a different one, it is a valid question. After all, there are examples of two siblings raised by the same family in the same environment, having different beliefs and sometimes even different perceptions of the events. Why that happens is not very well understood. It might be the result of individual character differences or gene expressions. Some people are naturally more sensitive and might take things more personally, while others are tougher skinned and are less affected. But most often than not, children from the same family will adopt similar beliefs and have similar patterns, simply because the child's underdeveloped brain and nervous system at that time lack the capacity for critical thinking and self-regulation, which makes it very easy for a child to take everything personally. So, do our beliefs create my reality? Or are my beliefs a consequence of the observed reality? Both are actually true. We form our beliefs as a consequence of the observed reality in childhood, when we can't process our feelings in a healthy way. And then we see the manifestation of those beliefs later in life, creating our reality with a set of beliefs already in place. Have you ever heard the phrase, "What happens to us doesn't matter"? It is the meaning that we attach to what happened that determines our happiness or unhappiness. And while I completely agree with this statement, when we are very young, vulnerable and dependent on our parents, very often the meaning that we attach to painful events is far from being positive or even neutral. So what do we do with our subconscious beliefs? How do we become aware of them? How do we change them? The first thing to understand is that your beliefs are not your enemy. Your mind is not trying to make you feel bad. It's not trying to sabotage your success. It is actually trying to help. But it is acting on old information, old outdated beliefs, what helped you cope in the past. And it is not aware that everything has changed in your life now, that you have changed. It wants to help you, and it needs your guidance. Many rules of the mind show us how the mind works. And one of them is the mind will always move you in the direction of pleasure away from pain. The problem is that the mind doesn't always agree with you on what is pleasure and what is pain. Your conscious mind might want one thing, while your subconscious mind wants another. Your conscious mind wants to succeed, while your subconscious mind believes that success is painful. Your conscious mind wants to find love, while your subconscious mind is terrified of rejection. In our previous example of a little child, one part of him, his conscious mind, wants him to have what he wants, while the other part, that is in the subconscious, is scared of disappointing his parents. Hence, the mind chooses the lesser pain. Very often, instead of moving you towards pleasure and away from pain, your mind moves you towards less pain, away from more pain. The pain of being disapproved of, criticized, and ultimately not loved by his parents is way worse than the pain of not getting what he wants. So how do we become aware of unconscious beliefs? Any subconscious belief will find its manifestation in behaviors, habits, thoughts, and feelings of everyday life. It is important to observe your unwanted habits and patterns and ask yourself some very important questions. What do I have to believe about myself to engage in this behavior, in this habit, or be in this relationship? Does this belief help me? What do I want to believe instead? If I stop this behavior, what would happen? What am I getting from this pattern, from this habit, from this behavior? The answer may come to you as a thought or as a feeling. You might even get it right away, or it might take some time. Don't get discouraged if you don't get an answer right away. It might take some time to connect to that part of you and gain its trust enough to start communicating with you. After all, you have probably pushed it away and rejected it in yourself for so many years. But with some time and commitment, you will get the answer. With awareness comes freedom. But it only comes when you decide to act on your awareness, changing familiar patterns, habits, changing self-talk. Treating yourself with compassion and understanding will surely bring the desired results. Changing beliefs might bring with it a lot of discomfort. After all, the mind loves what's familiar and hates what is unfamiliar. Stepping into unknown territory feels scary to the mind, and it might trigger resistance. But the more uncomfortable it feels, the more you need to step into it, consciously work with it. Be patient and compassionate with yourself, and you will get there. The journey is worth it in the end.